shall we extend a round of applause to the director of Osama, Siddiq Barmak?
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm really happy. Good evening to everybody, and I really do apologize for presenting us a film, very tragic film, and believe me that it's my honor to see that the cinema hall is full of audience and watching the film. Probably you know that the film is made in 2003, but it's still actual and very, I can say that it's portraying today's as well. So unfortunately, our history is repeating in a very bad and tragic way, in a very, I can say that in a way that we never expected.
Yeah, I think, Siddiq, thank you so much, because you've been spending the past few months trying to get your students and your friends out of Afghanistan, and you can still find time to join us for this discussion after the screening of this very, very important and crucial film. So Siddiq, maybe I'll just ask the first question, because I'm sure the audience will have a lot of questions to ask, but maybe I'll ask a basic one. How did you come to make this film in 2003? This is the first film being made in Afghanistan after the fall of Taliban, wasn't it?
Exactly. Clarence, actually, in 2000, I was in Peshawar city in Pakistan in exile, and a circle of my group friends, they asked me to start a project of short film. And I started searching for some subject and stories to make a short film with them. And once I faced with the article, a very short story which was published in a newspaper called Sahar for Afghan immigrants in Pakistan. And it was a story of a little girl who wanted to go to school, but the school was banned by the Taliban at that time, and still. And she decided to pretend as a boy, cut her beautiful hair, dressed like a boy, and went to school. But unfortunately, her classmates recognized her very soon, and also the security police, but the Taliban secret police as well. So, unfortunately, they went to the school. They beat very hardly this little girl, and they arrested the director of this hidden school. So this short story shocked me actually, and I inspired by it a lot. And then when I started writing the script on it, it was not for short film. It was my all memories, all the stories which was happening in the reality, and I heard from my friends. They came in, and it was completely for feature film. Of course, when I went to Kabul after the fall of the Taliban it was in January 2002. I changed a lot of things, especially I saw that the problem was not only education. The priority was to feed themselves and also the family. So I changed a little bit. Some very dramatic sequences, and also the goal of this little girl. So the film is actually the collection of real stories.
So how did you find Marina Kubahari, the actor who played Osama, the lead character in this film? How did you do a casting, or what was the situation back then?
It was our decision to work with non-professionals. So I searched a lot to find the main character. I went to the orphanages and different organizations, schools. I interviewed about 600 or 700 little girls. But one day, just 1 week before our shooting was start, near to evening, I met Marina Gulbahari in front of one of oldest movie theater in Kabul, Park Cinema, and she was begging on the street. And I saw to her eyes, she was her eye was just telling me a lot of strange stories, and I decided that she's the right person to play this role. She was begging at that time, but now she's one of the professional actresses, and she lives in Paris. She has her baby, a little 4 years old girl, and she's working at the cinema.
Okay. So what was the situation back then, Siddiq, when you returned to Afghanistan in 2002? I'm sure the Taliban has basically destroyed everything in terms of the film industry. So was it difficult to start things from scratch when you arrived back in Kabul back then?
It was so difficult at that time. There was an absence of deficits of a lot of things. We didn't have electricity. Our equipment was completely damaged. Our film camera, light equipment, sound equipment. And that's why when I was starting this project, Osama, the project of Osama, Mr. Mohsen Makhmalbaf, my very close friend, he came to help me. He put some investment, and also he invited his crew with a lot of equipments from Iran to make this film. And yeah, it was a very hard time for our filmmakers and also young filmmakers, and we did a lot of projects to rehabilitate them. To bring them a mentality of being filmmaker and being an active and creative person. So Osama really bring some hopes to Afghan cinema. After receiving some very prestigious award in Cannes Film Festival and different film festival. So it was a very good start for Afghan cinema.
Okay, I have a lot of questions to ask you, Siddiq, but I shouldn't be monopolizing the microphone because I'm sure the audience have a lot of questions as well. So maybe we'll see whether anyone would want to venture a question. 有冇任何問題想問導演咧？如果有嘅話，我哋同事會俾個咪你。My colleague will pass you the microphone if you have any questions you'd like to ask Siddiq. Anyone? Any questions from the audience? Okay, they're probably still thinking about this very important film and thinking about the question. So maybe I'll just ask another question first. So the film afterwards, when after you finished the film, was it difficult to do post-production and to put the finishing touch to all that? Because I guess that the facilities were damaged, and Afghan Film, the studio, wasn't functioning yet. So how did you manage to finish the film after shooting it in Kabul?
Actually, we had a very small laboratory at that time. There was no digital camera at that time, 2002 and 2003. So I shot it on 35 negative, and it was very important to see the result. So we choose a laboratory in Iran. So we send every week when we were shooting, we were gathering all these material, and we were sending to the laboratory. And after 1 week back, we were watching the result. So it was very difficult to see the image on time while we were shooting. And when we finished, of course, it was my decision to go to Iran and do the post-production in Iran, because Unfortunately, we didn't have any facilities in Afghanistan. And in this regards, I really thanks once again my friend Mohsen Makhmalbaf. He provided a lot of facilities over there in Tehran, and we did editing and also audiography and editing of negative, everything in Tehran.
I've seen some behind the scenes footage from the film, especially the very powerful first sequence of the women demonstrating against doing the demonstration. So was it one of the most difficult scenes to shoot back then for this production?
Exactly. It was one of the most difficult, and it was we started actually the shooting, and before organizing this scene, I was never taught that we can invite a lot of and we can have all of these females with their burqas. I went before with my production manager and also a few other friends to meet some people and especially females, women in some organizations, to invite them to participate in our shooting. And especially in an organization like Red Cross, some organization who were working, providing some charity for widows. So we asked them to come and help us. And if they bring their burqas, blue burqas, we will pay much more. So on the day when we invite them to the set, I never expected that 950 or something women was gathering. I expected about 200 and something, but 900 people. And when I asked them, they said, you know, the money is not a question. It doesn't matter. We came to express ourselves because it was our wish to stand against Taliban. Mm-hmm. So it was so beautiful moment for me. Of course, it was very difficult to organize such a big scene and that's why I asked all friends to come to help me for organizing not only my assistants and some people from outside. Even Mr. Mohsen Makhmalbaf, it was as a protagonist. He was presenting himself in the first day of shooting, and I asked him to at least took the microphone and helped me. So it was very interesting and a very emotional moment for me after being lost himself, to find once again myself in the set and with my friends, and it was a kind of first steps of Afghan cinema after a long time silence.
Mm-hmm. Actually, afterwards, after Osama, you of course continued making films, for example, Opium War, but you also took up the responsibility of the Afghan film studio. So how did that come about, and how much did you manage to do when you chaired the studio back then?
Actually, I left Afghan film in 2004 to be more free to organize my my cinematographic career much more, because I wanted to have establish my own studio, also help another organizations, and also create film festival, teaching cinema for young filmmakers. And also I created a first cinema magazine in Afghanistan and the whole history, called Cinema, and it was published for 10 years. And then after we stopped because we faced some financial problems.
Because you also nurtured a lot of young Afghan filmmakers. For example, Roya Sadat, the director of A Letter to the President. Actually, the other day I was talking to her. She asked me, she actually recommended me to talk to you. Of course, I've already talked to you. So she said that you were a mentor to her as well. So you actually did work with a lot of these young aspiring filmmakers back then.
Thanks a lot to Roya. Roya is the first, actually, I can say with very confidentially that I can say that she's the first filmmaker in woman filmmaker in Afghanistan, and she's a very nice and kind lady. I think also we started to work with a lot of young filmmakers. We created cinematographic groups for young filmmakers, like one of them was called Jump Cut Group. They created a very experimental cinema, actually, and it was very, I can say that it was a kind of new wave in Afghan cinema. Mm-hmm. Also, I was participating, voluntarily teaching for 3 years in Kabul University of Cinema for students. And many of them, they become a very good filmmakers, and they are, unfortunately, they left Afghanistan recently.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe we'll see whether there are any questions from the audience, and then if you that member of audience.
Hello, director. Thank you so much for shooting this movie. I feel very inspired. I will need to think, should I feel happy to be born as a woman in this life? I wonder, after taking this movie, any kind of help or new direction will happen in the world? Or do you think if people born as a woman is not lucky, or do you think you are lucky to be born as a man in this life? And if life has a death at the end, if there is a rebirth next life, do you think to be a woman again can help women more? Or I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about actually. But anyway, thank you for the film.
I do understand. Thank you so much. Actually, there is a dialogue by grandmother of Osama in my film, and she said, "It's a creation of God, being a woman or a man, but they're equally unlucky in our world." I can say that yes, unfortunately, it's a very difficult be a woman in female in Afghanistan as a very traditional country. Unfortunately, there is a lot of reasons that the females in Afghanistan, they don't feel themselves lucky. One of them is because of the absence of because of the historically and also traditionally, and also one of the main point is religious, a very wrong interpretation of religion in Afghanistan, like fundamental groups like Taliban or Daesh or other fundamental groups of Islamic groups, seculars. They really made life very tough and difficult for everybody, especially for females. Can you imagine the Taliban get back to power with the help of course, there is a lot of versions that Pakistanis are helping them a lot to come to power, and they once again they banned schools in front of girls. They ask females to leave their jobs and don't get back to their jobs. Can you imagine? Right now we have about 2.5 million females in Afghanistan jobless, who are at least have a very not too much high salary, but of course a normal salary to spend some money for their life, for their family. A lot, we have about 500 and something thousand widows who lost their brothers, fathers, and or husbands, and they are the responsible of the family. So this is a big tragedy. Afghanistan now faced one of the most biggest crises of in its history, because females, at least 3 million, 2.5 million female, they lost their jobs. This is a very bad luck for Afghan female. In this situation, I'm very proud of those females in Afghanistan who were coming out to the streets against Taliban, and they were starting to defend themselves. They raised their voice against Taliban, and they really stand in front of arms, and it's still continue. I think the future of Afghanistan belongs to Afghan females, because they are fighting for themselves right now. Because during of these past 20 years, we had a lot of educated females who were really struggling to stand on their position and really manage their lives. So I'm really proud of them, and I'm sure that the future of Afghanistan belongs to them.
Okay. Okay. Are there any more questions for Siddiq, this gentleman over there, please?
So thank you very much for the movie. I think it's a gateway for people to know more about Afghanistan. So my question is that we all know that the history has already repeated in Afghanistan, and then the Taliban has returned to the regime. So do you think there is any other thing that the Afghan cinema or the Afghan directors can do to show more about the voices, voices from the people, that maybe there are a lot of directors, actors, or people from the cinematic world that they are in exile or they are forced to leave the country. But are there any other thing that people can do or people can voice out to the outside world as in cinema? Yeah, that's it.
It's a little bit difficult to answer to this question, because it depends to how our friends who are now living in exile out of a country, they can find some sources to make film. But I'm sure that everybody wanted to express themselves through cinema, through film, because it's a very strong media. And I'm sure that there is a few filmmakers that they are making with their hiding cameras with their mobile now inside of Afghanistan, even now under control of the Taliban. Thanks to new technology, it's more easy to make film right now everywhere. Probably our friends can manage outside of Afghanistan to find some good stories. Of course, Afghanistan full of stories. One of my friends says that we don't have oil, but we have a lot of stories. So I'm sure that thanks to the new technology, it's possible right now to make film outside of Afghanistan. We have neighbor countries like Central Asia and also India or Iran and Turkey, which have a similar nature, and we are, and also the people are not only a nature, the people are similar. They are speaking in one language, so we can use this possibilities and facilities in neighbor countries to make our stories there. Of course, somehow Kabul as a capital has his own nature. It has his own energy for our stories. but recreate it of Kabul somewhere and put our actors and actresses in this new landscapes. It's very important to say some stories. It's very important to transfer our emotion through image to the world, because Afghanistan needs these stories to tell. Look at to the mass media. Probably you had the chance to watch some documentaries or news on television, but cinema can say more stories with details, and it's bring to you a reality of Afghanistan, or makes you stand closer to Afghanistan reality.
Yes, indeed, because we are sure that, well, given the resources, given the possibilities, actually Afghan filmmakers can do a lot of work. For example, the films that we are going to show in our festival after Osama, for example, Letter to the President, Wolf and Sheep, Hava Maryam Ayesha. I mean, all these films, they allow audiences far away, just like in Hong Kong, to know more about your country, Siddiq, Afghanistan, and also how it relates to us. So actually, I'm sure that the audience would have a lot of questions to ask, but I think we are running out of time. So thank you so much, Siddiq, for joining us today. Thank you so much. And please give a round of applause to Siddiq Barmak, director of Osama.
Thank you for your patience, and thank you so much for your interest. I hope to see you once in Hong Kong with some new film with a very happy stories, some comedies, not of tragedy about Afghanistan.
Yes, please make one and we'll show it. Thank you so much, Siddiq. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming to the screening of Osama today. Thank you. Bye-bye.